The feeling of disappointment when you realize that you didn't get the child that you had hoped for is a very taboo subject, but it's real nonetheless. And that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to walk you through what that looks like, talk about the real issues, and at the end, I will give you the 5 ways that you can tackle that disappointment. So get ready for it. Those who don't know me, my name is Danielle C. Baker. I am the founder and CBO of Being Connected, and I'm also a registered early childhood educator with over 20 years experience in the field. I do help parents and teachers navigate the realities of what parenting is today, but don't get it twisted. When you work with me, we're putting the child's needs first. So we're going to have to put the ego and pride aside, and let's get to it. Hello, and welcome to the Talk to Danielle podcast. I am your host, Danielle C. Baker. And before we get started, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. And of course, this is season 3, so I do invite you to have a look at the last 2 seasons or the previous 2 seasons and see if there are any episodes there that may be resonating with you and that may be speaking to the realities that you're facing today. So go ahead and have a look at those 2 previous seasons. And I'm going to jump right in today with a topic that's very difficult for parents to talk about. We often sometimes most of us will feel guilty when we start feeling that way because we spend a very long time imagining what our children are going to be like and the kind of child that you would like to have. Most of us also want our mini me's, right? And I do invite you. In season 2, I had an episode on selfish parenting. And that one's a little hard blow as well, but that really is what it is. Let's be real. We want that boy that will play baseball. We want that girl that's going to change the world. We want the healthy, smart, successful boy or girl. But that's not always what we get. What happens when you picture what kind of parent you're going to be and how you're going to show up for your child, for your perfect child. And then what you end up having is a child that may be unhealthy, that has uh, challenges. We could even be talking about ADHD, autism, ODD when your child is a teen. A child is very different from you because we all want that mini. The one that doesn't want to take over the family business, that's what you had hoped for. The one that doesn't want to be the doctor or the lawyer or politician that you really want to have in order to give your family a good name. What happens then? Why is it that your parenting shows up differently for that child? And that's what we're going to be talking about. What happens when not only the child is not who you want it to be or has the look or the personality that you were hoping for, but also what happens when your child is not taking the path that you had hoped for. Now what? Right? Some of you may feel triggered by this episode, and I'm going to warn you ahead of time. I am in no way, I don't know most of the people that are watching this episode, so it's not a personal attack. I don't know you. I am talking about facts. I'm talking about what we see. There's enough data out there to see what happens to the children and to the family dynamic when parents are disappointed with their children and how they're turning out to be, so-called turning out to be. If you do feel triggered, again, it's not a personal attack, but it does show you where you need to heal, because if you don't take care of that, uh, you are going to create some pretty heavy trauma for your child. And now you're that parent. So keep that in mind. One of the first things that I can tell you is you need to let go and accept who your child is. Our children do not belong to us. They don't come from us. They come through us. And they have their own path to follow. They have their own mission to accomplish. We cannot get in the way of that. That is fundamentally the worst thing a parent can do, and that's not what parenting is. So no matter what kind of idealism you subscribe to, whatever your values are, whatever beliefs that you have, your role as a parent is to provide all the help, support, and resources a child needs to become the best version of themselves. It has nothing to do with you. It's nothing, you do not live through your children. Your role, fundamental role as a parent, and that's in the definition, it's also in the religious books, is to create and support this wonderful human being that's going to make the world a better place. It's a selfless act. So we need to look at that in that way because many of us are not doing it selflessly. I'm going to jump right into the healthy solution to dealing with that disappointment when you realize you're not going to get the child that you have been dreaming of. The first thing is to let go and accept the child for who they are. There's a reason why you have that child, and you have a job to do as a parent. So stop making it about yourself. Right? It's about your child. The first thing you're going to have to ask yourself is, why did you want to have children in the first place? What is the real reason? You're going to have to be real. You don't make up stories to make yourself look good. Why did you have children? And this is where the selfish parenting comes in. We don't have children because we want to create healthy, well-balanced human beings that are going to make the world a better place. Some people do. I'm not generalizing here. But if they do, it's most of the time because they want to look good and say, look at my child. They're doing this and they're doing that and they're doing this and they're doing that. They're getting attention and praise for it. Sorry, I'm laughing because I've had a situation like this just recently where I had to talk with the parents about your title doesn't make you entitled, right? So you have to let that go as well. Why did you have children? What is the real reason why? Did you want that mini me? Did you want to show the world how good of a person you are? Or did you really want to bring in a wonderful human being into this world so that you can make a world a better place when you're no longer there? Okay. You also need to ask yourself, when you wanted to become a parent, or when you made the decision to become a parent, were you looking to build those healthy connections with your child so that it lasts, it's lifelong connections? Or are you looking to be the source of constant battles? Originally, the child is not looking out to get you. The child is not out to get you. They're just children learning to, or trying to understand how to live in this world, and you're guiding through it. Now, if later on they are out to get you, you need to ask yourself, what kind of bond did you create with your child for them to want to get back at you for what's happened? You also have to look at in this constant state of disappointment. Your child is going to feel that from you. So even if you're not verbal about how they're not who you want it to be, they're going to feel it, and that creates a whole lineup of psychological traumas that you are creating in your child, right? So we got to look at it at this point now, where we're dealing with abuse at this point, no matter how light it is, you've become that parent, right? So keep that in mind. Is that what you had in mind when you decided you wanted to have children, is to become that parent? It's very important to understand that none of this parenting stuff, none of it is about the child that you wanted. Again, the fundamental definition of a parent and your role as a parent has nothing to do with the parent. It's all about the child. So it's not about the child that you want, but it's about the parent that your child needs. This is where we need to make that switch to be able to kind of get over this initial disappointment and not drag it on for a lifelong relationship with your child. It has nothing to do with the child that you wanted to have, and it's all to do with the parent your child needs to have. You need to take on that role. That's your role as a parent. Before I go on with I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can tackle that sense of disappointment, because it is real. I mean, I'm not going to tiptoe around it and say that it's not normal, It is absolutely normal that we have a specific image of what we want our children to look like, to feel like, to act like, and to be later on as an adult. But before I give you ways to get over that, one thing that is very important is, as a parent, when you realize that you're not getting the child that you wanted, that you dreamed of, It's to let go of the outcomes. You coming in as a parent expecting specific things from your child, specific things to happen, these outcomes that your child will provide you with. You need to let that go because again, that's you. You got to figure out how you can give yourself those outcomes. Don't put that on your child. That's not what they're here to do. What you expected from your child only matters to you because even the other parent may not have those same expectations, or the extended family may not have those same expectations. The community may not have those same expectations. The school may. So this is very, when I say it's not about the child, it's about you, and how you show up as a parent is what you're expecting your child to become, or what you're expecting from your child only matters to you. It's a you problem if your child isn't what you expected it to be. So you need to switch that around. As the parent, you need to ask yourself, what support does my child need? What kind of healing do I need to do to make sure that I don't mess up my child, or that I don't create a generational pattern of toxic relationships between child and parent? You need to work on healing that part of you so you don't transfer that over to your child. And what work do you need to do on yourself and within yourself to become the parent that your child needs? Because again, that's what it's about. It's not about what the child you want, but it's the parent that your child needs, and that's on you. So you have to let go of those outcomes. Yes, we can dream about the wonderful child that we want, just like we can dream about the perfect partner, life partner, business partner, all of that. But it's not about you, it's about the child. So let go of the outcomes and just go back to the source of, why did I want to be a parent in the first place? And what does my child need? What parent does my child need? And you need to become that parent. You have to focus on building healthy parent-child relationships. That is your job as a parent, as well as to create these healthy bonds with your child so you can have that lifelong connections. We hear a lot of falling outs between parents and children. And yes, there are very well-founded reasons for that to happen, but it never stems originally from the child. Later on, as the child grows and learns to develop these defense mechanisms against the trauma they received from the parents, yes, then they could become their problems. I'm not talking about children that have addiction issues or anything like that, where the parent does need to take a step back, but we're talking about a child that doesn't feel safe around that parent and need to detach themselves, or need to detach their children from that side of the family because it's too toxic and it's not safe or it's not healthy. So you need to focus on building some healthy bonds with your child. It's all on you. And you can't go with the idea of, this is how it was growing up, because that's how I grew up. I didn't want that for my children, so I'm giving them that. Again, you're making it about yourself. And that's the hard pill to swallow, is your reactions, especially when they're negative ones. Or if you think they're positive, they may not be positive for your child. So again, you need to take that step back and look and see, okay, why is this so important to me? And sometimes it's very well founded. You want your child to be successful. But what does your child need from you to become successful? So that's one of the big questions you need to ask yourself. If your child chooses a different life path than you had hoped for, whether it is in their personal life or professional life or anything, even their choice of religion, so what? Again, it's not about you. They're the ones who have to live with that life. You owe them nothing. They owe you nothing. So you have to look into that as well. I apologize if any of you notice that I may sound a little distracted, and I don't know if you can hear it, but there's this dog. My neighbor's dog is just constantly barking right now for some reason. I don't know if you can hear it, but the neighbor. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I'm going to keep that in the episode. The neighbor keeps yelling at the dog every time the dog is barking, so it actually sounds like they're just barking at each other right now. Let go of the outcomes, build those strong bonds, find those common grounds with your child to see, how can I build this make this a positive experience for both of us, because constantly nagging or constantly putting your child down or beating yourself up for not having the child that you wanted, that puts a strain on the relationship. A lot of the parents, and I'm not saying that all parents are selfish here, but it fundamentally our reflex is to expect the child to fill some voids, some gaps that whatever we didn't get as children, we're kind of hoping to live vicariously through our children. So that's not fair to put that on a child. You fix yourself, deal with it on your own, and just have fun with your child. That's really what it's all about. There's another thing I want to make clear as well, especially when it comes to disappointment, because it's a pretty strong emotion. And of course, it's a taboo emotion. So we just don't talk about it. We kind of bury that one down and we camouflage it through fake interactions, or, our words do not match our actions when it comes to disappointment. So you have to understand that constant heaviness around your energy for being disappointed with the child that you wanted and you didn't get is a form of abuse. I mentioned that earlier, but it is a form of abuse, and your child you don't have the right to be abusive towards your child. But when I talked about those healthy bonds earlier as well, where sometimes you have fallouts between a parent and a child, your child doesn't have the right to be abusive to you either, right? So this is where you need to make those difficult decisions sometimes when you have to cut the connection between you and your child. It goes either way. So yes, your child may decide to step away from you because of the toxic environment that you've created and trying to make them the perfect child. But it goes the other way around as well. If your child is struggling and your child has made some bad life choices, they have in no way the right to be abusive towards you. So sometimes you're the one who has to pull the plug on the relationship until they can get themselves together, pull themselves together. So it's the same way. If you can't pull yourself together, your child has every right to cut you out of their lives until you fix yourself. So setting boundaries are very important. You need to set those boundaries to keep yourself safe, and your children need to set boundaries to keep themselves and their families safe from you as well. Okay, so it really does go both ways. I realize now that it may just sound like I'm putting all the blame on the parent, but essentially, in the beginning, you are responsible for how your child is going to behave around you. The way that you act around them is going to determine how they're going to behave around you. So yeah, in the beginning, it is on you. If you didn't set those boundaries, if you didn't make those boundaries very clear in the beginning and stay consistent with them. I also wanted, sorry, that was a big sigh. I also wanted to talk about, I'm generalizing here, but when it comes to you getting a child that is not as healthy as you had hoped it to be, I don't like to use this term, but the atypical child, so a child that may have some diagnosis, some health issues, some challenges outside of a healthy child. You will have that feeling of guilt that's added on to the feeling of disappointment. So you're disappointed because you didn't get the child that you wanted. It's not fair. You're going to go through these, but you will also beat yourself up for saying, what did I do wrong to get, I created this, or this is my fault. This is the reason why. Maybe I had too much coffee when I was pregnant. All sorts of things that you may blame yourself for your child's condition or your child's challenges. And that's also a very real and raw emotion that comes up and nobody talks about. So the first thing we often get, first when we feel disappointed, we love our child. We really do, we feel disappointed, so we feel guilty about it. We tend to oppress those emotions. And it's so important not to do that. You're going to need to address them face on. Because oppressing those feelings of resentment, of anger, of sadness, they're not going to help. Your child is going to pick up on that. Your child is going to feel it, even if you work very hard at making sure that they don't feel that side of your inner struggles, they are going to feel it, and now they're going to think that it's their fault, and they're going to blame themselves for it. And now you're dealing with this, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough. And this is a long-term trauma. And this is what I mean by the disappointment comes through you, even if you don't think, you're not flat out saying, I'm disappointed in you. I'm disappointed I had you, basically is what your child is hearing. I didn't want you. I don't want a child like you. I don't want you. And you can do the research on the psychological abuse that child goes through when they're constantly being told this. Even if you don't say it verbatim, your actions are telling the child that you don't want them. So that's why you need to keep yourself in check as a parent. There's another thing I want to add here, because I know I'm going to trigger a lot of you. Some of you may have felt pointed out on certain things here. All of these, especially with the signs of abuse between the parent and child when the child is atypical, this is not the sign of a heartless parent. If you feel disappointed because you didn't get the girl that you wanted, or you didn't get the boy that you wanted, or your boy is not as athletic as you wanted it to be, or your daughter is too athletic because you have a different picture of what a girl should behave like, that doesn't mean that you're a heartless parent, right? It doesn't mean that you are a bad parent. It just means that there's something that you need to work within yourself. When a parent behaves that way, is because they're raising the child. They still, in their mind, are trying to raise a child that they had dreamed of, not the child that they actually have. So this is where we're going to be switching things around. When you start understanding or flipping the script in terms of, I am no longer raising the child I wanted to have, I need to be raising the child I did get. This is where the magic happens. Like I mentioned in the beginning, it's not about the child that you wanted to have, it's about the parent your child actually needs. This is where it flips. So moving away from still fighting to raise the child you wanted, and going towards raising the child that you have and becoming the supporting parent that your child needs, will change everything. And this is where I'm jumping right into the 5 ways that you can tackle your disappointment and create this healthy bond with your child. You can't pretend your way out of your disappointment. People pick up on that, especially your child. Your child knows you too well. And so even if you don't flat out say it, if you put on a great air to not show your disappointment, your child will pick up on it. And the first thing that comes to them is, they're mad at me. I'm a bad child. They don't love me. I'm not lovable. This is the internal dialogue that's going through your child's head when you're just trying to pretend that you're not disappointed and that you're not addressing those emotions, for you to get yourself out of it. So the first thing that you're going to need to do, the first way to tackle that disappointment, is to be honest with yourself and then talk about it. So be honest with it. Do not bury your head in the sand. Do not pretend that it's not existing. Be honest with yourself and say, yeah, I am disappointed that I didn't get the child that I wanted. So you have to identify those emotions honestly. And if you can't find those emotions, just go back to moments where you struggled, or that you were so-called embarrassed by your child's behavior in public. Find a confidant. That you need to find somebody that you can talk to, that you feel confident that are not going to go and blab everywhere else about it. So a confidant, somebody you can trust, that you can talk about your feelings. And if you need to, schedule a few sessions with a therapist. There's nothing wrong with that either. Having a third party will often help more than going to a friend or a family member that you trust, because you're putting a friend and family member into kind of like sticky situations where they may not know how to handle that, or they're gonna say, oh no, don't be silly, and then now they're without knowing it, they're preventing you from addressing your feelings. So sometimes, yeah, therapy can help, and it will help. Journaling is very important, because trying to identify those emotions can be very difficult when we were raised not to show our emotions or to identify our emotions. So journaling, how do you feel at the end of the day? And this is how I actually came up with my journal, Parenting with Gratitude. It's through working with parents and teachers on this particular topic of, how do I process those negative emotions, and how can I heal myself so that I'm not passing that on, which leads me to the second point. So the first point is you need to be honest with your emotions. You need to be able to identify them and then talk about it. You need to talk about it. First of all, the one thing that is so important is understanding that when you start talking about it, you're not the only one going through this, which is one of the heaviest burden that we go through is thinking, what's wrong with me as a parent that I'm feeling this way about my child that I would kill for? It just, there's so many conflicting emotions there that talking about it will help you. You can join groups as well. It could be virtually or in person, but as long as those groups don't become just a bitch fest, I'm sorry for the term, but when you're just complaining and complaining and playing the victim, but there's no solutions added to it, we're just adding to the drama. Those are toxic groups. Step out of those. You want solutions. You want to see an improvement. Yes, it's okay to vent when we're frustrated and disappointed in ourselves and all of that, but surround yourself with people that are actually going to uplift you instead of drag you down with them. There's a huge difference there with groups. The second one is to find out more about your child's strengths. Get more info on their condition if they have a diagnosis of some sort. But again, be careful with that, because if you're a fix-it parent or a high-achieving parent, when you're doing more research on the condition, you're looking for information that will support your thoughts on it, not the objective data that have been accumulated over decades. You're going to go for that one person that just wrote an article that resonated with you, that supports your way of thinking. So again, this is what I mean by do more research, do more objective, data-driven research. It's so important, okay? But this is where the journal comes in hand as well with identifying your child's strength, is that you're going to focus on what your child did good in the day, right? Stop focusing on what they could have done bad and ended up doing, because you're kind of pushing it on them. That's what you're looking for, but focus on the good things. So if you start your day with that on a positive note, it makes it easier. It takes a while to work that muscle, but it does make it easier. And at the end of the day is, okay, what did my child do today that made me laugh? Or what did my child do today that I really appreciated? So by doing this regularly, it really does help to switch that, and you start seeing the strength on your child. You start focusing on the things that your child is good at, as opposed to the things that your child doesn't have that you wish they would have had. So that is another thing. This is focus on the strength, find out more objectively about the condition that your child has if they have a condition. It helps adjust your expectations right off the bat. It'll help you switch that a little bit more. Again, looking for objective information on the condition if they do have a challenge. Get second opinions and evaluations. If you don't really think that, if you've had your child evaluated, you got the results and you're thinking, doesn't seem right, it's okay to get a second opinion. It's okay to go somewhere else and get it tested again. I know it's exhausting, but mistakes are made and it's normal. So it's okay. And then just journal. Again, I'm not a big journaling person naturally, but journaling does help. It really does help you kind of find, focus on what you're struggling to focus on. The other thing that you can do is every night, just think of the one thing that makes you proud of your child. Again, focusing on the right things about your child. Your child may not demonstrate the skills and the talents that you wish that you dreamed of before having them. Focus on what they have now. You get to see it when you focus on something, that you're going to get to see more of it, and you'll get to see how good your child is in their way. So focus on that. Again, the journal that I have is very helpful with that, to switch that over to what my child is good at, or one thing that I'm really proud of my child, as opposed to focusing on the disappointments. So focus, the one thing that works really well with that is just focus on the one thing. So if you say that I'm really proud of how kind my child is, they're always wanting to help their sibling. They're always willing to help if a child is crying, or, I'm giving examples here, but focus on how kind they are, let's say. Focus on just that one thing. Don't find something all the time, different things, because then you won't be able to focus on that. But just focus on that one really strong point that your child has for a while until it becomes natural, and then move on to the next one. Find another one. So just focus on one at a time. It's going to help you. It's going to solidify that. And just write a list. There's actually a list in the book as well, in the journal. And just make a list of what my child, and you can show them if they're old enough to say, look, this is what this is what I appreciate about you. This is what I'm so proud of. It'll help with their self-esteem as well. And just stop focusing on what's wrong with your child. Focus on what's great, and just keep focusing, because everybody's going to tell you what's wrong with your child. So just, break that cycle and focus on what's great and say, yeah, but have you noticed that he or she does that, right? That's a good way to communicate with the school as well, when they're always telling you what's wrong. So I love it. And I appreciate it. We're working on that. Yes. And tell me what's good. A lot of the times, teachers don't necessarily have time to focus on the good. They'll just focus on what's needs to be addressed. But are they actually seeing your child for who they are? So, all right, you gave me what was wrong, but again, now tell me what's right. And so those who just like to put your child down just because it makes them feel better will have stopped talking about your child because they don't want to have to do that. You're putting that back on them. But for those who really do see your child who they are, they're going to start thinking the same way. They're going to start praising your child. So it's a very good thing to be doing. I'm the cheerleader that you've always wanted to be. When I work with parents on this, I always tell them, if you did have your great athlete son who plays, who ended up playing for the National League, let's say, okay, you'd be cheering them on. You'd be bragging about them every time. If your daughter became the doctor that you wanted her to be, and she went to the most prestige, the most popular university known for their doctorates, you would be bragging about her, and you'd be talking about it and sharing that, just non-stop talking about it. So why aren't you doing that if they weren't a doctor or if they weren't playing for the NBA? It's be the cheerleader no matter what it is. Find what they're strong at, find out what they're good at, find out what they're passionate about, and be that same cheerleader. Again, it's not about you, it's about your child. So why can't you cheer them on the way you would cheer on your daughter who has become a doctor with a Harvard degree, or your son who's now playing for the NBA, and got you a great house somewhere? Why can't you cheer on like that for the fact that they're doing something amazing just in a different way? So be their cheerleader. The fourth one would be to find your support group, especially if your child does display some challenges that you were not expecting in terms of health. Those groups really help in realizing that you're not the only one going through these struggles, that are going through these negative emotions, that are going through this guilt, resentment, anger, sadness, everything that we don't want to talk about. But again, like I mentioned earlier, you got to make sure that those groups are actually helpful and they're not just a toxic environment where people are just going to complain, play the victim, woe is me, but not offer any type of solution to help support your child. So if you find yourself in a group that's just a bitch fest, leave the group. That's not helping you in any way, and it's not helping your child in any way. So be on the lookout for that. And know when you need to get help. Right? Yes, there's a lot of stuff that we can do on our own, but your disappointment in not having the child that you wanted can stem from some really deep wounds that you have, that you're holding on to from your childhood. And so do get the help that you do need. If you notice that after doing all this work, you're still not able to get out of it, it's okay to get help. And it's important that you get help because you don't want to become that parent, that toxic parent that your child's going to have to cut out of their lives. So this is what I'm going to leave you with. There's quite a lot. If you wanted to know more about the book or the journal, it's available in French, English, and in Spanish. It is available on Amazon. I also have one for children that came after the parent one because I realized that the kids also need it. If you want to help your child especially if your child constantly hears negative feedback about themselves at school or with the other family members, this also helps them. And it's made in a way that they don't have to write it down. If they want to, they can color in. So that can help you. They're both available as well, in French, English, and Spanish on Amazon. I also have a journal specifically for dads. I worked with a dad on that one, so to really pinpoint more of on the dad aspect of things on parenting. So you could get that on there as well. If you have any other questions, if you'd like to know more about how you can move away from that feeling of disappointment, resentment, anger, and sadness, you can definitely contact me. Just again, make sure that you're ready to work on it though. Okay. Because I'm going to put you to work. If you're asking for help, you need to be able to take the help and be willing to do the work that comes with it. So I will leave you with that. Again, don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to whichever channel you're listening or watching from. Until next time, stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll talk soon.